Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Blind Changes Mindset Q&A Live. I'm thrilled to have Jade Broomfield-Moore with us this morning. Hi Jade.
Hiya.
So Jade, wow, I feel exhausted just thinking about everything that you've managed to pack into life. So you've got 2 horses, you are doing a degree in primary school teaching, you are a business owner, and you look after your siblings.
Yep. Yeah,
wow.
I'm a busy lady.
Indeed. So tell us a bit about yourself and your setup and all of this stuff that's going on for you then.
So I'm a second year primary education student, so it's busy at the moment, but it's a bit all over the place. So I'm currently at home with my youngest 3 siblings, and we live not too far from a really nice grass livery where we have our 2 horses, which makes everything so much easier. And I run an equestrian fashion business called Off the Track Equine. We specialise in equestrian fashion. So a lot of the time, any spare room in the house looks like a stock room, because we're in the process of revamping the actual stock room so that it's a bit easier for me. And yeah, that's kind of what we get up to.
Wow, so lots of good things. So tell us then a little bit about your business. Tell us a bit about Off the Track Equestrian. What inspired you to set it up? It's a few years old now, isn't it?
Yes, it's coming up 3 years this summer. So when I came up with the brand, I was sitting in an A-level English class and I was just doodling in the back of a notebook. And we'd been talking that lunch about what I think it was what we were asking for Christmas and things. I remember just being like, wow, why is everything I want that's horse-based so expensive? And I remember looking through the sizes and things, and it was like an 8 was an extra small or an extra small. I just remember thinking, as someone recovering from an eating disorder, that kind of struck quite a painful chord. So I decided that I was going to set up my own business, one where it didn't matter what your socioeconomic background was, it didn't matter what your size was, that there was something for you. And we've had a few supplier issues, people getting the numbers wrong. Our last lot of base layers came in small, medium, large, and I was very disappointed in that. But the aim is, by the end of this year, using our new UK manufacturers, that we're going to have products that are suitable for people no matter their size, that don't have harmful stigmatized labels like extra small and extra large, and that a 4 to a 24 just feel like standard sizes. Yeah.
Okay, and so what was it then that really fueled that? Because that you're what, 19?
Yes.
And so to decide that you want to set up a business and you want to change something that you didn't feel was right, and that you want to do that on top of the fact that you were doing your education and everything else that's going on for you. What was it that kind of really fueled that for you?
Well, I remember I was at a pony club for many years. I remember it was always very looked down on to not be wearing, the big fashionable brands. And I mean, I didn't come from a very, very wealthy family. I mean, we have horses, So I remember just being like, I don't want my siblings growing up in that world. I've got 2 younger sisters. I was like, I don't want them to get to high school and it be like that, almost like that class divide of, oh, what brand are you wearing? I wanted to make a brand that was accessible for everyone, but was still seen as stylish and classy, so that even the more well-off would say, oh, I really like that, so that it didn't become just like a cheap brand. And also kind of spite. I remember I sat down and I was talking about it with my parents, and I was on the phone with my mum, and she was like, yeah, no, what you do, you're an adult now. And my dad said, I don't think that'll do very well. And I had a partner at the time who said, I don't think that'll do very well. And then we went to our first show, and I was like, oh, I've got these negative things in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, I'm not really sure. And it did really well. And I was like, oh, okay, actually, maybe I can do this. I'm not just some girl doing her A levels, obviously not a degree. I've got ideas and people like them. And then we went onto social media and we were doing polls and things like that. And the feedback was coming out really positively. And I was like, oh, or maybe I can do this. And it was, it was that leap of faith of, does someone believe in me? And yeah, when people did, yeah, we've ended up at, I think we're at 15.1k over on Instagram now, and it was like, these people believe in me.
That's awesome. And okay, so let's just take it back a step. So when you were telling people this is what you want to do, and you got the naysayers, they're saying that will never work. No,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. That's really normal. That happens to everyone. Like, you know, you've got this idea, and because it's different and because it's new, people go, well, that's not going to work, is it? Because it's different and new. Otherwise, someone would already be doing it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, despite that, you still were like, well, I'm gonna see if it does. How did you overcome that? Because this is so key to so many people, that they want something, but because some other people are telling them it's not possible, or because they've grown up being taught that, or because someone around them isn't being as supportive as they could be, they give up on that dream, or they go, oh no, you're right, it isn't going to work. But you didn't. You kind of, I mean, you got to your first show, so there would have been an awful lot of stuff involved before you even got to the point of that feedback. What was it that drove you on to do that?
I got a message from a lady that I used to take photos for, and she was like, I'll back you. I was like, what? You sure? And she rang me. She was like, I'll back you. I'll give you a small loan. I mean, it was literally a couple of £100. She was like, and go and order that first batch of t-shirts. I think it was t-shirts and some baseball caps. And she was like, do it. Genuinely, do it, and I'll take you. And I was like, oh, but you know, people have been a bit negative, and I mean, I owe this lady so much. She is wonderful. She was like, don't listen to them. We're going. She was like, if you think you can do this, we'll do it. And it was, you know, that strong, positive outlook from someone else. So I went, I can do this. I sat down with my designs from the back of my notebook that I'd scrolled out in biro, and was like, oh, actually, I can do this. And I'd already been looking at, you know, places that could do like the printed and embroidery, and I was like, well, this is the money I've got. How can I make the most of it? And obviously, from having horses, I had acquired a lot of secondhand tack over the years. So I was like, well, we can take that, because at the end of the day, I've got room in the car, may as well. And I remember she picked me up that morning about 6 in the morning. She was like, I've bought you a gazebo. Have you got your own table? And I rang my nan. I was like, Nana, can I borrow the table? Because we had like a folding picnic table. Because I hadn't thought of that, in honesty. You know, that's one of the little things that you don't think about when, you know, you first start a business. She was like, yeah, of course, come pick it up. And she only lived around the corner, so we went and picked up this table. And she was like, oh, good luck. When you get back, can I order a t-shirt in my size? Because my nana's a larger lady, so I'd only didn't have anything in her size at that moment in time. And I was like, oh, hang on. But dad didn't believe me, but Nan does. And then I remember we got to the show, and it went okay. I mean, it was a dog show, so I wasn't expecting it to be amazing, because yeah, I'm a equestrian brand. And then I got back and I was like, oh, Dad, I had a really good day. Look, here's the class we sponsored. Look at these pictures. And he was like, oh, okay. Would you order me a t-shirt in my size in black? And then it was, can you order me one in grey? Can I have a navy one whilst you're at it? And it was all of a sudden, you know, the one person who told me I couldn't do it suddenly kind of believed in me. I mean, over the years, we've had our blips. You know, he's like, oh, you sure this is a good idea? You know, you could have put that money towards learning to drive, or, you know, a house deposit and all that. And then he sees how happy it makes me, and he goes, oh, okay, maybe it was worth it.
And I bet you he's one of your biggest fans, isn't he?
He's my walking advert.
Yeah. It's incredible. I love hearing stories like that. We call them the hero story, which is where you have an idea and you come across adversity. And that adversity can come in the form of a person, a situation, all sorts of things. And because you've just got this belief in your back of the mind that there's something to this. I've got to try. If I don't try, I'll never know. And so you try it. And like you say, the momentum just starts to build. And there just needs to be those few people that say, come on, you got this, let's give it a go, I'm with you, let's fail together, it's fine if that happens, but if not, let's do this, you know.
Yeah.
And then that one person that was the naysayer starts to think maybe they were wrong and turn around. And that is amazing, isn't it, when that adversary actually becomes your biggest fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So amazing. So this lady that you owe a lot to then, what was it that she really kind of taught you and instilled in you and made the difference? Obviously, she gave you some investment, yes, but it wasn't a significant amount of money. It wasn't enough to launch a business, some people would say. So she must have given you so much more.
Yeah, she took us to our first couple of shows. She lent us her horse box, and it was just after. It wasn't long actually after I'd had an accident. I'd been bitten by a dog, and I was still very nervy. We were going to a dog show, and then she took us to a horse show, and she didn't. It's hard to describe. It's not like she actually held my hand through it all, but it was almost just like that presence. She's a very strong-willed lady. She's fantastic, and she was like, "You've got this." I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm a bit nervous," and she kind of just handed me one of her dogs, and she was like, "Give him a cuddle, you'll be fine. All your nerves will go away." And we were sitting in this horse box. I had one dog on my knee, one dog sat next to me, and she was just like, "Yeah, well, we're 20 minutes away. Oh, we're 10 minutes away. Oh, look, there it is." And we rocked up. Right, I found the lady going in. I was like, "Oh yeah, no, okay, all right." Okay. And we were pitched between, I think it was a photographer and like a dog shampoo company, and I was just like, "I'm not sure this is going to go well. We're horses, and this is a dog show." And she she looked at me and she was like, "Yeah, but we've brought dogs with us." I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah." I forget how many dog owners also own horses, and this is a horse rescue place. And it was just, that strong, confident female figure of, "You got this." Yeah, yeah, and every time you had a concern, it was like, "Yeah, and," which was, for I think I was 17, 18 at the time, and that's really what you need, that metaphorical holding of your hand of, "You've got this."
I love that, and I do love the yeah, and this is exactly what I know with people, right? Yeah, and the problem is what? I don't see one. It's in your head.
Yeah.
So having had that experience so early on, how has that shaped who you are today, and what it is you're doing, and what drives you in all the other things you do in life as well?
It taught me very early on that it was okay to be juggling a couple of plates. Obviously, having horses and doing schoolwork it's always a big commitment. You see a lot of people do posts about selling their horses to go to uni or loaning them out, and I I mean, those two things didn't cross my mind, but I said to Mum, "Well, what are we going to do with our two?" We only had one at that moment, and then we bought a second one to keep him company, and we just found some grass livery, and it was like, "Oh, we can do this. We don't need to be on a livery yard with other people to help me, because I've got, I've got three siblings here with my mum. I've got my mum. Um, at both sides of my neighbours, I've got horsey children who are desperate to see the ponies." And it was a real driving factor of, I can go to uni and run this business, and when I come home, weekends and half terms, that I'm going to be able to see my horses. I'm going to be able to, like, over summer, River comes back into work for the odd plod around the field, and the kids like to have a little walk around, and it's really nice that I've got that almost like the business to fall back on when uni's tough, and there are days when you're looking at assignment and that assignment feels like it's never going to end, or you're not going to be able to find the reference for it, because referencing is, I feel, the bane of every uni student's life. And now I kind of had that outlook of, well, if I can take this business from me being the only follower to 15k, from no sales to selling out on pre-orders, then I can do this. I've got this no matter what. And I think being able to look at a situation where you feel like there's no end to it almost, and be able to go, "Well, I've done it before, I'll do it again," is really helpful, especially with uni. And see, at the moment where there's no face-to-face teaching, and it does feel like it's never going to end, being able to go, well, I remember when the business had its lulls at the start, when it was quiet, when I was lucky to make one sale a month, and being able to go, "Oh, I did it before. I'll do it again, and I'll get out the other side of this okay.
Awesome. So it just is that belief in yourself, that little voice in the back of your head, that your little voice is a really useful one that says, well, you've done it before, you can do it again. And it's training that little voice, isn't it? Training that little voice to say the useful stuff instead of the, well, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Let's say, it doesn't matter, you've done it before, you'll do it again. And developing that resilience that you've clearly developed to bounce back. So, with a degree and horses and a business and helping look after your siblings as well, that's a lot to be juggling, like I said. There must have been times when you dropped a plate that was spinning somewhere, or something didn't go to plan, or you missed the ball, or whatever, however many of those things you want to call it. Tell us of a time, or not necessarily, tell us of a time when that happened, but how did you pick yourself back up and carry on? Because I think so many people are so fearful of dropping a plate, or of, not having everything perfect, or of letting something go a little bit, or, not managing it all that well, that they therefore don't put an extra element in that they want to have in their life, or they're fearful of doing something they really want to do because they don't know how they're going to manage it all. But clearly you have shown us that is possible. How do you overcome that then?
So in October, we put out pre-orders for our saddle pads and our stable tidies, like stable drapes, and what else was on there? And our new fleece rugs. And I was quietly confident that this was going to do quite well, and it did, until our supplier stopped replying. So it got to November, I think it was 10th, which is when it was due to start being shipped. Radio silence. Got to the 20th, which was when it was due to arrive to me. Radio silence. Got to the end of November, still radio silence, or, oh, it's not quite ready yet, or, oh, well, look, here's a picture of some of your order. And then it got to December, and I was like, look, this, people ordered in October, hoping that this was going to be here for Christmas. And he was like, yeah, it's here. No tracking number, no products. And I remember just crying, just sobbing at my poor pony, being like, what am I going to do? Because I had put so much time and at that point money into this order, going, well, it was going to be lots of people's Christmas presents. I know there was some birthday things in there. And it was just the most gut-wrenching feeling, knowing that I'd put all my trust into someone else and he'd let me down. That order didn't arrive until the middle of Jan, and some of it is still missing, which, as you can imagine, is beyond stressful. I've had every excuse under the sun. No, he's in hospital, his brother's in hospital, his sister's getting married. It's been sent, but it's not been sent. There's no tracking number. His shipping agent isn't getting back to him, and it's hard. It's horrible, in fact. And I was very lucky that I found two of the ladies on Facebook who were using the same supplier, who were getting the same excuses as me. But one day I'm in hospital, and she'd get, my sister's getting married, and we kind of all just sat and we talked and we said, at the end of the day, there is nothing we can do. We'd put all of our own personal finances into refunding the people that wanted refunds. And that was horrible. That was times where I was living off the bare minimum of what I had in the fridge and the freezer and the cupboards, because all of my money had gone on to refunding people because this order hadn't arrived. And it was horrific. I remember my dad was like, oh, well, I told you this could have been a bad idea. And I was like, now is really not the time to, drag that up. And when it arrived, you go through and you check in to make sure everything's there and things are missing. It was like that adrenaline rush of, yes, it's here, followed by that crash of, oh, hang on, things are missing. And I remember I got a message from one of our followers, and she was like, hey, I know I've put a huge order in. Don't worry about it. I will wait as long as it takes. She was like, I can imagine you've had some horrible messages. Don't worry about it. I want my order whenever it arrives. Just look after you. She's like, I can't imagine what you're going through right now. Because I'd put a couple of screenshots up of like what he'd said, like the supplier had said. And she was like, I can't believe you're having to deal with this. This was obviously just after all the schools had been closed, so things like my placement had been cancelled, and emotions were already high, and then obviously all this on top of it. And we got some really nice messages from my sponsored riders, my brand ambassadors, and then some customers who were just like, "Hey, don't worry about it. We'll wait." And all those positive messages really do outweigh the negatives. We had a couple of followers over in Northern Ireland who were like, "If you need us at any time of the day, drop us a text, because this isn't your fault at all. Don't let anyone make you think it's your fault, because this is not your fault. This is not on you." That was really, really helpful, because when you're going through a situation where you feel like you've got no control, because realistically you have got no control, being told that it's okay and that people believe that you're going to get it sorted is really reassuring. And I'm forever really grateful for all those positive texts that we got that were like, "Chill out, don't worry, we're gonna your actual followers, your ideal customers, we're still gonna be here when this is all over." And they were the ones that supported me through finding British suppliers, because the one that we were using was an international one, and it just wasn't working out. And I mean, of all the plates to drop, that was probably the most financially damaging one that I could have dropped. But I'm kind of glad that I dropped it when I did, because it taught me so much, especially about being able to hand over control to other people. One of my sponsored riders is my best friend, and there were days where she was like, "I'll take over dealing with the Instagram and the messages," and she was like, "Just look after you."
Wow, that's lovely. It just shows that if you surround yourself with the right people, that they are your tribe. They will be there to support you when you need them, and they will fight your corner and your battle. And I bet you, if any of the people had put anything negative on any post, they would have fought that corner, and probably do. So how do you deal then with the negative people? How did you deal with because you would have got some horrible comments, and you would have got some people being very upset, and understandably, if they'd ordered Christmas presents and they'd ordered things for their loved ones or for them, you can understand why. And people react in funny ways when they are fearful or angry or any of that. How do you cope with that? How do you deal with that? How do you kind of keep going, because you're going to get them? It's especially in retail. It's not an easy place to be sometimes, but clearly you do keep going. What do you do to move on?
I quite quickly learned to grow quite a thick external skin. I mean, I'm a very sensitive person. I'm a very emotional person, and things get to me. But I think it was Ria's group that I commented in, and it was just almost an outflood of other business owners that were like, "Yep, we've got that kind of customer at the moment. Don't worry about it." Especially with all the delays with Royal Mail over Christmas, and there were so many people that were like, "Yeah, yeah, we're all in the same boat at the moment. Just keep going." And it was, that outpour of, "Don't worry, it'll get better," because there are days where you've got more negative messages than you have positive, and that gets to you. It very much gets to you. So to see that all the other small businesses are going through the same, it's what's the word? It's that reassurance of you're not the only one, because it feels like you're a fish out of water.
And it is really useful, isn't it, knowing sometimes that it's not just me.
Yeah.
I don't know how many clients I get that they phone me, they want to book coaching, they want to do something with me, and I say, "Just to let you know, you're really normal." And they're like, "What do you mean I'm really normal? I've got all this crazy stuff going on in my head." And it's like, "Yeah, I hate to say it, it's really normal." And actually for them to just feel like, "Oh, it's not just me. I'm not crazy. This isn't just happening to me. There are other people in this situation." And this is where those support groups are really helpful, aren't they? Those communities, those support groups. For you, it was going to other retailers and saying, "What do I do?" And they go, "Don't worry, we're all having the same thing at the moment. It's all right. Here's some tips and tools and hints to help you through." And that's just so invaluable right now, isn't it? That community.
Yeah, it's a massive support network, and it's the best thing ever.
And how did you find yours? How did you find the right support network for you?
I think it was from, I've been listening to her podcast, and I've seen a lot of posts on Facebook in some of the other equestrian groups where anyone who'd mentioned business, everyone had been like, join this group. This is the person to talk to. And I joined that group and I was like, oh, okay, actually, no, I can see why this would be beneficial to me. You know, I enjoy the podcasts anyway. And then I met a lady in America and we'd FaceTimed and she was like, hey, here's a link to another group that I think you'd really enjoy. It's based in Australia, but it's similar to what you do. And, you know, although there's a lot of like body workers in there, so, you know, physiotherapists and chiropractors, she's like, there's a couple who do, you know, fashion and things like that. And I think some of the information in there would be invaluable to you. And it was, you know, those two groups are now my go-to for anything, you know, especially with the search option on Facebook where you put in your keywords and it'll bring up all the posts relating to that. It's fantastic because it means that I don't then have to put up another post, especially if I'm, you know, really down and that I feel like I'm failing. Being able to read that someone else has been in that situation and see the comments of what people have suggested and the outpour of love from all these other small business owners is really, really nice. Especially we've ended up with some really nice connections. Like there's a photographer, and you know I'll be like, oh well, this is kind of not going particularly well. She's like, here, have a picture of my dog, and I'm like, that's just made my day. Because sometimes when you know it feels like you're dropping these plates and you're not sure you're going to be able to pick them back up, having a support network where people are like, change the subject, here, do something positive, have some serotonin. It's just really nice.
I love that. So if in doubt, if you think anyone's ever down, just send a picture of your dog because clearly that makes all the difference.
Yeah. Pony pictures and dog pictures.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Nothing better than a pony picture, is there really? Or a cute puppy or a cute dog.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it does. It just shows that bit of love, that bit of support, that bit of, hey, look, you might be down, but it's okay. You know,
yeah, you'll get through it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so this is, you know, just incredible hearing your story about business and all of that and everything you've been through. And I think it's really inspirational. I think a lot of people that are watching this and listening into this will find some really useful inspiration and some useful hints and tips, and maybe they're feeling a bit on their own and they might think, you know, actually, yeah, I do need to go and find that support group. I mean, that's exactly why I set up Eden, which is my equestrian development and empowerment network, which is exactly what you're saying. It's a place where people can be, it's supportive, I look after it, not that there's ever any problems, but if there were, I would nip it in the bud. And people can just put that question out or share that way they're feeling. And everyone just piles in with all the love and all the support and all of the, you know, here's a cute picture, all of that stuff. And it's lovely, isn't it? That sometimes at the moment we can feel very alone, very isolated, all this stuff going on. But actually sometimes you just reach out and the outpour that you get of support just really makes you realise that everyone's still out there. They are still out there. They're just all stuck indoors, but they're still out
especially
there.
when you can't, you know, ring up and be like, can we go out for a coffee? I need to just chit chat. You know, being able to put up a post and, you know, you get this just outpour of, here, have all these cute pictures, or look what my pony's done today. And it's like being able to go out for a coffee with someone just safely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no chance of catching anything. Okay, so tell us then about all these plates you keep spinning. You must have a way of doing this. You must have a way of keeping on top of everything, making sure you don't miss stuff, especially if you're running a business that's, you know, retail business. So you've got to track stuff. You've got to make sure it happens. You've got to be, you know, getting stuff ordered in time, all the timelines, and then there's your horses, and then there's your family, and then there's your university degree with all of the deadlines and things involved in that. How on earth do you keep track of all of that stuff? What are your hints and tips?
So I am a sucker for a paper planner. I know a lot of people like to have things on their phone, but I find having an actual planner in front of me that I can pull out and look through really helpful. And I have one that's got lots of different columns in it. So, you know, I've got like a uni column, one for all my medical appointments, one for my ponies, you know, like the vet, the farrier when I need to buy new feed, and then one for the business. So, you know, when things are due to be ordered and things are due to arrive. If I know that I've got to put some money into my savings account, that I'll make a note in the column that says, remember to mention this to my accountant when I next speak to them, that I've had to put this away because, I don't know, maybe I've got some driving lessons coming up, or I've got rent to pay, and I find having an actual planner really helpful. And then the other thing I do is I love IT. I did it up to A level, it's my jam, and I like spreadsheets. Color coordinated spreadsheets are the way forward. I'm dyslexic and I struggle with numbers, so being able to have a spreadsheet that does all my addition, subtraction, and multiplication for me is the best thing ever. One of the team members who I mentioned earlier does computer science. So if I ever have a query, I just pick up the phone and I'm like, hey, this isn't working. And she's like, here, this is the code that you need, not that. And, being able to see figures in front of you is really helpful. Being able to, like, I have a page on one of my spreadsheets where it's like the total cost of an order, how much I've paid in that installment, and the date, and how much is still to go. And being able to track and watch that number go down is really satisfying, especially with suppliers where it's like you pay 50% deposit and then you pay 50% when the products are done. Being a university student, I don't always want to have those sorts of sums of money in my account, especially at the moment where, if I lose my bank card, I'm going to really struggle to get it back because it would go to my uni address or it would go to my home address. And, that transfer period, trying to change everything back to my home address. So being able to just pay off little things in, little sums, like, so say it comes in and I go, oh, well, I can take £500 off that order. So you send it over, and being able to, take that off that total and just watch that total tick down is really, really satisfying. But yeah, color coordinated spreadsheets, having multiple sheet spreadsheets as well, so that you can have one that's got, say, the base costs, so it's the costs, the minimum order quantities, and how much the shipping is, for example, for a certain amount of that product. And then being able to have a sheet for each order that you do is really, really helpful for me, because it means that if I've misplaced a piece of paper that's like with the invoice on, which I do a lot because obviously I live with children, being able to just open up this spreadsheet and click, January order, February order, and go, oh, hang on, so that there's, £150 left on that order. Oh, well, I can sort that out today. Or, oh, there was 10 of those bonnets. I'll have to go and check because I can't find, the pony one. So it's really, really helpful for me to have these spreadsheets, and, being able to change the colour in the background is great with dyslexia.
So, okay, so you're a spreadsheet lady, but essentially then for you, it's about using technology or using tools that help you to stay organised and keep on track. Why
Yeah.
do you ever go off track?
No. Well, the thing with the spreadsheet as well is obviously I can have it on my laptop here, but if I'm out and about and someone asks something, or, I get a phone call and it's like, oh, can you just double check this? I can pull out my phone and go, yeah, hang on, it's here. And the same with my planner is, I'll get a phone call and I'll be like, hang on, flick through the pages and I can go, oh yeah, well, I've got a lecture at 4, but if you'd like to call me in the morning, that's fine. And I find that's really, really helpful, especially trying to talk to, well, now UK suppliers is obviously where I was usually international. They're awake like in the evenings or like the early hours of the morning. And as a uni student, I don't sleep particularly well. So at 2 in the morning when I get a text that's like, your fleece rugs are finished, I'm like, oh, well, send me a picture over. Whereas with the UK suppliers, obviously it's like the normal 9 to 5. So being able to pull out a planner and go, oh, well, actually I'm free that morning, so if you could give me a call that morning, I find really helpful, because I'm one of those people where if my phone rings, I won't pick it up unless I know who it is. So being able to write down that I know that, a supplier is going to call me that morning is really helpful, because it means I don't miss calls.
Awesome. So it's just about finding a system that works for you and being organised and keeping track of stuff.
Yeah, and being able to accept that you don't have to have it all on paper. You have to have it all on technology. It doesn't have to all be on your phone, that you can find your own happy medium.
What happens if you ever lose your planner?
Oh, yeah, I adore my planner. It's always within hand's reach.
Cool. Okay. So I think, we've covered so much about how you overcome things, what belief you need, how you get that belief, how to get support when you need it, how to be really organised when there's loads of stuff going on. Is there anything else that you want to share, or that you think is really important, or you think people have asked you that would be really useful to let others know, or anything like that?
Yeah, when you run a business, especially on Instagram, it's very easy to let yourself get down. I find it on my personal equestrian account. I have 2 retired ponies, and you see girls at my age, out competing up to elementary, and people who compete up to the Grand Prix, and you go, oh, that could have been me. And being able to just unfollow people who aren't good for your own mental space. That business that maybe you've had not like a bad experience with, but maybe you've had a negative comment from one of their team, and it gets to you every time you see their post. Unfriend them, unfollow them. I know on Facebook you can limit the posts that you see and things, and just being able to take control of what you absorb, especially with social media being so prevalent whilst we're all stuck inside. Running a business is hard, going to uni is hard, owning horses in winter is hard. So if you can do something that will have a positive effect on your mental health or your mental state, or just even, that's one less negative thing that you've got to deal with that day, do it. If you have to schedule in that at 10:30 every day you're going to stop and have a cup of tea with a biscuit, do it. It's so important at the moment to not let your business or your work or anything consume you, because it's so easy, especially with a lot of people are still trying to get used to this new routine. Don't let the little things get in the way. I don't know, with the kids we bake once a week because it's good for them for maths and home ec, and we get muffins or biscuits at the end of it, and that makes you smile. Or entering an online show, and when those rosettes rock up in the post, it's the best thing ever. My little sister loves the fact that I show our 2 ponies online, so she has all of the ponies' rosettes up around the room that are for the little pony, because she always says, well, that's my pony. And being able to see the bright things in life. So at the moment, obviously, we've got frost and ice here. We're in rural Scotland, so going down to break the ice in the waters 2-3 times a day. And our pony's quite a timid pony, but the other day I sat on the floor and she came up and she gave me a fuss, and I was like, I needed that. I needed to just stop thinking about uni for 20 minutes, stop worrying about whether or not my orders were going to go out on time, or if the printer was going to behave, because I've had so many issues with that printer this year, and just be able to stop and sit in the moment with the pony. Whilst, she came in, she licked my hand and she nuzzled up to me, which she's not a particularly affectionate pony. So that was really sweet. And just being able to stop and just go, that was really nice. That was what I needed. And, not putting too much emphasis on things being perfect. We have stickers that go on the orders, but at the moment I've got obviously a huge backlog of orders because things have just arrived, and I don't remember to put a sticker on every order. And I had to learn to not beat myself up with that, because 1, I ran out of stickers, and 2, that at the end of the day, people care more about what's inside that package than whether or not you remember to put a sticker on it.
I think that's a good tip for life, actually. People care more about what's inside the package than whether you've got a sticker on it.
Yeah.
Super. Okay, so one final question for you then, and thank you for that. It's so true. Really, really important. Final question. What gets you up in the mornings?
Currently it's a child or the dog jumping on me, wanting my attention. But when I'm at uni, when I'm on my own, the thing that gets me up in the morning is knowing that what I do means that my ponies can both have a happy retirement. River is a failed racehorse. He's, comes from good bloodlines, but his dad passed away when he was 15, and River's just turned 16. So to me, the fact he's still here means the world to me. And if I get 10 more years of him being a field ornament, I'll take 10 more years of him being a field ornament. And when I finish uni, my mum is handing full control of them both over to me. So at the minute, she helps me out with my livery fees if I need it, like when I need it, and she pays for my feed because I don't drive. But I know that I've got 18 months ish left until I finish uni, and then they're completely dependent on me. So I get up in the morning and I'm packing orders or I'm updating the website because I know that I've got 2 ponies that rely on me. And while they're happy as Larry stood in that field, if dinner's 10 minutes late, they're both going to be grumpy. And, those happy smiley faces, when you rock up with their warm dinner in the morning, it's just the best feeling.
Oh, gorgeous. And I think that's a perfect place to finish. So thank you so much, Jade. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing from you and just hearing the fantastic mindset that you've got. And, I hope lots of people really enjoy listening to this, as I have really enjoyed asking you about your story and hearing about you. And I really, really wish you the best of luck with everything in the future. And on that note then, so how do people get a hold of you, or indeed how do they find out about your fabulous company?
So we are on Facebook and Instagram, and we have a website. And we are actually on YouTube. I'm just not very good at remembering to post. On Facebook, we are Off the Track Equine. And on Instagram, we are Off the Track_Equine.
Awesome. So you'll probably have a flood more orders coming in now. I certainly checked you out while I was on here. I thought, I haven't followed you on Instagram yet. So I'm sure you'll get some new followers and things as well. So thank you so much, Jade. It's been an absolute pleasure. And hopefully we'll hear more of you in the future with your huge success and being a teacher and everything and finishing the degree and everything that you've got going on.
Thank you for having me.